So how do you do big miles? What do you do during an electrical storm? And what happens if you get plantar fasciitis or a knee injury on trail? I'm going to be answering some of those questions and a lot more in this Q&A live stream replay that I did with a good friend of mine, Impala on trail. We met on the Haute Route Pyrenees and we decided to have a long chat afterwards. These are the highlights. I've overlaid a bit of route footage from the trip just to make it a little bit more interesting. Let's dive into it.
Best way, man. So, should we get this party started?
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I had so many comments of people wanting to pass on their thanks and gratitude for saving their knees, man.
Yeah, knees are tricky. It takes a little bit of work, but it's actually pretty easy.
Yeah, I had a question actually come through from Thomas Holt, and he said he's got one knee which is giving him some issues. Do you recommend knee supports, or are they just psychological benefit?
Initially, like if you're in the middle of a hike and someone offers you a knee support, yeah, of course, put it on.
Yeah,
it's not a long-term solution. I think of it like a band-aid. Like you're just putting a band-aid over a problem that is pre-existing and has been built up over a long period of time. And your job is to find out where your weaknesses or your restrictions may lie and start rebuilding your joints and the strength of the muscles that support the knee so that you can keep continuing to get out there and do your thing.
So relating to the HRP, man, first question, do you think you started too late in the season?
For me personally, I would rather start early because there's almost no snow on the mountains. Like you would have noticed this as well, right? There's hardly any, very few snowbanks left. And I don't know, having the white on the mountains obviously just looks much nicer. So that's pretty much the only reason why I thought maybe I would start earlier. But I had stuff going on. I had family holidays and just work things that I couldn't do it earlier. So yeah, next time maybe I'll start a little bit earlier. The other thing is that we both experienced like September in Catalonia is typically really stormy. So it's very common to have those afternoon storms, but you got belted by storms all of September anyway, by the sounds of it.
Corpse it, dude, one night. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. Yeah, 5,500 foot. So I wasn't the highest, but yeah, the storm just rolled in, blew my tarp down, ended up wrapping up like a little burrito waiting for it to pass, and then boogied on out of there. But yeah, it was scary, man. But it was cool. You know, it was one of my funnest parts of the trail, you know, to look back on. Did you get any?
Yeah, I had a pretty close call, but it was still really far away from me. I camped in a really exposed location because it was super beautiful and it was right on the border of Andorra. I wanted to get as close to Andorra as I could because the next day I wanted to like belt through Andorra in an entire day. I don't know if anyone's done that before, but I was like, see how fast I can get through Andorra, and I got through. I think it was like 10 hours, 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, man!
So that was like the funny thing was it was exactly a marathon. It was 42.2 kilometers.
No
so
way.
Weird. I managed to come across like the perfect campsite at 42.2 kilometers. It was like sweet, done marathon day. But yeah, I got through Andorra real quick. But yeah, there was one night where I could see the storm off in the distance and I could hear it, and it was kind of coming towards me. I was like, oh shit, it's coming this way. And I didn't really want to pack up and go down. And there was literally nowhere else I could go. I think it's the only stage on the HRP that doesn't end with a refuge of some sort, like with a refuge or at least a cabin or something. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to have to go all the way down, backtrack. So I thought I'll just wait it out and see what happens. And yeah, it was fine. In the end, there was a big 3,000 meter mountain in front of me and it kind of blocked it, moved it away out of my path.
Oh, you're lucky, man.
Super lucky.
You're lucky. Yeah. You're like a burrito, man. Hey, we've got some questions rolling in, man. So Supermastic, man. Any recommendations for a properly waterproof rain jacket? Are you using Montbell?
Montbell, yeah. Really good. I didn't really get to test it. I actually no. I had one or two really heavy days. Yeah, and it was good. Obviously, like up to like my elbow was wet, around my neck was wet. But it was only like probably an hour and a half of like really solid heavy rain. which is a lot when you think about it, I guess. So yeah, for sure. But that's one of the lightest jackets out there on the market. So for it to be that light and for it to protect me that well, I think it's pretty good. But in my experience, almost nothing's waterproof. I don't know about you, but
yeah, a bin bag or like a poncho's the only waterproof thing, and anything else is just going to fail eventually, man.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, then you'll just sweat from the inside and get wet anyway.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can't win, can you?
Yeah, it's a lose-lose situation. So I decided to just go for something. For me, it's more important to be windproof. So I don't really care. Like if you get wet, you get wet. It's fine.
Yeah,
get dry,
be happy and wet, isn't it? It's as long as you can maintain your body temperature. You man. It's yeah. Another question from Hobbit's Adventures. Do you think it's essential to speak Spanish or French on the high route?
I don't know, man. You tell me.
Mate, I have got pretty much zero Spanish and like a tiny little bit of French. They're okay, you know. The only thing I found was on the French side, some of the refugees, they were a bit frosty with me, man. But I'm not sure because that was because of like the times that we're in with COVID, or if it was just they couldn't be bothered, or if it's because we're at the back end of the season. But
on the language side of things, I speak reasonably good Spanish, and so obviously for me, it's always more comfortable to be in Spain. Like every time I was on the French side, I was like, I'm going to deal with like having to try and speak French or asking if they speak English, which is I always feel a bit shameful doing that when it's pretty easy. You can just you can learn like the very basic things like ordering food and asking for a room. It's super easy. I wouldn't worry about it.
You don't need a lot.
The more I will say, like the more you learn, if you have time and if you've got a bit of a knack for languages, it's going to make it so much more interesting because you like talk to people along the way.
Give it a whirl, man. David Phillips, he's got some ultras. Do you recommend easing your way into zero drop or just lace up and go?
The best advice is to do no more than like 10% change each week in anything you do, especially when it comes to footwear. Like don't surprise the body with anything. So yeah, integrate 10% more each week, more volume in time wearing those shoes. The other thing is like you can spend time just, I don't know if you work from home or whatever, but just be barefoot as much as possible. That's literally the best thing you can do. And it also allows your feet to spread out or your toes to spread out. So you immediately get more stability. When your toes are able to almost flex and grab onto the ground and your metatarsals are able to move just like your hand does like now, like technically our feet should be able to have torsion and should be able to move almost as naturally as a hand does. And if your foot cracks like that when you're doing mobilizations, it's fine. It just means that it hasn't moved like that in a while, and it's just getting used to the movement. So more movement is better. Can't move too much.
Sweet. What do you recommend to help out with plantar fasciitis on the trail? And that's from Goodrow's Adventures.
Get your trekking pole, put on the ground, and take your shoes off, socks off, and just like paddle your feet up and down the trekking pole. So the trekking pole's that's your foot. Trekking pole goes through here. Just leave the trekking pole on the ground and just kind of walk back and forth on it, stomp on it, and just feel what's going on in there. Because
almost like a foam roller sort of thing.
Yeah, it's exactly like a foam roller. I mean, even better, bring a trigger point ball.
Yeah.
You can also do it on the handle. If you've got a nice, like, cushy kind of cork handle, that's even better. Because sometimes we'll have those little nubs for your hand. That's basically a trigger pointing device right there. So chuck that on the ground and just put gentle pressure in, not too much. You don't want to get to the point where it's painful because you'll get the opposite effect, like the muscle's going to tighten up, it's going to try and protect itself. So just ease pressure onto it. Maybe hold it on for a couple of seconds. That'll like cut the blood flow off. And then when you move out of that, the blood will come back in and it'll start restoring that tissue. We'll get things moving again. That's like, that's the number one thing you can do. But I've got a video coming out that will go into more detail on that soon. But for now, that's the number one thing.
Summit and beyond, how do you look after your feet? And do you have any strength exercises for quads and feet that you recommend?
Hmm. One really basic thing you can do is mobilizing every single one of your toes. So imagine this is
Yeah,
your foot, grab your pinky, move it back
just stretch it
and
up.
forth, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
Now, don't force anything, but you'll hear a pop and a crack, and you'll feel where your end range is, and then go on to your next one, then go into your next one, and go into your next one. Go to the big toe 2 or 3 times on each one. That's a good start.
both of you do big days. How do you manage pacing breaks? Do you decide by miles, time, feel, etc., and that's from stars and solitude?
Hmm. That's a good question. I go by like convenience of the place to break. Like if you said you were going to break every hour, it's not going to work because you could
No.
be that hour could roll around and you'd be surrounded by raspberry bushes and
Yeah.
thorns and nowhere nice to sit. Like it's silly. It's break when you want the reward. Break when you feel like your body needs to, or before your body needs to. To take a quick stretch, to rehydrate, to refuel. Like do all these. You want to stop before all these things happen. But also you can refuel and you can rehydrate while you're moving too.
On the fly, man. Yeah, because that's what I do, man. I just cruise. I walk quite slow, man. I do like 2.5 miles an hour and
Mm,
just keep cruising, and then just have
mm.
like a 1, 2 breaks. If I'm hiking with people, though, the breaks are the best bits, aren't they?
Yeah. Where you get to sit down and relax and chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for
Have a
most
smoke.
people, like they think big miles are about like going crazy fast, but
Hmm.
it's more about like having a system, getting up early, walking, being comfortable walking into the night or late, at least late into the afternoon, and stopping very, very infrequently, or when you do, just having very short breaks. Because you can also like get yourself out of a bit of a rhythm. If you have a huge break, then your body's going to start going into a completely
Recover.
different. Yeah, it's going to start recovering. It's like, sweet, job done. Hey, Leo,
Single great memory on the trail.
best memory?
Yeah, it's a hard one, that, isn't it? Because it's such a vast thing and there's so many good things.
Yeah,
I'd say
yeah,
mine was getting hit by that storm, man. The hindrances were
yeah.
getting-
Yeah, feeling the raw power of nature.
Yeah,
Actually, I'll tell you, it was really nice. And mine was a storm as well, I think. I was with Karim, my buddy.
yeah,
We hiked together for like 7 days, 7 or 8 days. We passed over, took the Mujeres. That was a 3,000 meter pass, and
yeah.
there's not much else around there. I think it's just as you come into Catalonia for the first time, and like we hadn't really researched much of the route the next day. Like we only really found out the weather was going to be bad as we were coming up to this 3,000 meter peak, and it's like a razor sharp ridge, like really really nice ridge. And as we were getting up to the top of the peak, it started to hail. And we were like, okay, we better get up this thing and over the other side. So the clouds came in, couldn't see anything. It's hailing, storming, raining, lightning, the whole lot. Like we have it. And then we had to descend this like super sketchy rocky slope and then come down into the valley, which was just like the trail was a river. And out of nowhere, there was like one of those perfect little square aluminium shed refugees, like
Oh,
unmanned refugee, like 8 man. Can't remember the name of it. I think it was just Refugee de Mujeres. And we came in there and we were all like just soaking wet. I'm like, okay, we can like relax now and just have lunch. And we chatted to some of the local guys that were in there, and it was really cool. That was a nice
did you
memory.
just have lunch or did you end up taking an arrow
No. We had lunch, and then it cleared
and
up,
break?
and then we
Oh,
went down right down to the bottom of the valley after that. So yeah, it was only like that was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was way too early to call it a day.
yeah. So Jordan, what temperature rating do you recommend for quilt in alpine environments? Did the lightweight down
Um,
quilt do a good job? And did you need to wear a puffy jacket when sleeping in your quilt?
yeah, I would say like almost every night I had my Montbell Firma Wrap UL on almost every night. I have like a warm cap on as well. And the model I have is an 850F, but I was never really cold.
Never cold.
I
What
never
sort
never
of taste?
cold enough to. There was certainly times where I wouldn't have
You
minded
could.
being a little bit warmer, but I was certainly like not cold enough that it like impacts your sleeping or that you really even think about it. Yeah, I think it takes a little bit of getting used to, but I love the quilt.
Yeah,
Quilt's
it's so
like
much.
life changing. I can't believe I hiked for like 15 years in sleeping bags. Like such an
It's
idiot.
just
Like,
when you're hot, you've got a hot sleeping bag,
yeah,
and if
yeah.
you open it up
Sweat.
and what's that?
It's crazy.
Um, did you bother taking a stove? If so, which do you recommend?
Yep, I took a stove. I brought the BRS 3000T, and it's super light. It's like 27 grams, 1 ounce.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, people say it like chews through gas really bad, but sometimes that's a good thing. Like if you want to cut down some weight, like use some gas. That would cut down your weight.
How many gas
Uh,
canisters did you go through?
like I bought one of those really tiny ones,
Hmm.
150 gram, I think. And so the first 10 days I cold soaked, I didn't use gas at all. And then I got
Yeah.
one of those tiny cans, and that lasted me, I don't know, ages, like almost the rest of the trip. And the last probably 5 days of the trip, the only thing I could find was like a really big, like
One of the jumbos.
not the like the jumbo, but like 350 gram, I think it is, 350 mil, whatever. And I barely,
Just went wild.
barely, no, yeah, barely touched that at all. Literally at one point I was just like, I'll just let it go. Just like see if I
Hands
could
up on
like, yeah,
it.
dry my socks. Yeah. Um, and then I ended up just putting it in a hiker box for the last day because I don't want to carry this. I'm going to try and go as quick as I can towards the med so it gets that sweet ocean.
Does it matter in which direction you go on the HRP? Which one would you recommend? So I went westbound and you went eastbound, hey?
Yeah.
Would you go the other way or?
I think now, like I've gone that way twice. So
Mm,
if I did the GR10 or something like if I did the HRP again, I think I'll probably switch and go the other way. Just I
yeah,
don't know to be
mix
different.
it.
But for me, like I live in Barcelona, which is on the east side. So
Yeah,
I feel like I'm walking home when I go Atlantic to Med, which is like really nice.
it's that
Like when I
morale boost, isn't it?
yeah, it's super helpful for mental strength. Like every single step you take, you're a little bit closer. So that's a huge
Yeah,
mental assistance. So maybe I need the mental challenge for next year. I don't know.
yeah.
But for me, it was so nice to just like finish, get in the ocean. I was like, I jumped on the train 2.5 hours later. I was walking in to my apartment, hugging my girlfriend. So that was really nice to be able to finish like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, but if you're from the UK or if you're somewhere else, probably doesn't really matter.
No.
If you want sunshine at the end, a potential to sit on the beach and have like a little tiny beach holiday, then I would go walking towards the Med.
Here we go. Maggot infested. I'm vegan, so would food resupply be difficult out there? And would I need to have resupply boxes shipped?
Um,
Um,
yeah, if you're strict vegan, for sure.
you'd struggle. Like some of the shops, man, it was just meat and cheese, man.
Yeah,
Like some days, that's all I was carrying was just cured meat and cheese.
I'll tell you who you need to ask though. The guy that he just got, this is unofficial, but he just got the FKT, the fastest known time for the GR11, and he's vegan. I haven't asked him yet, but I would like to know how strict he was with that because, and I don't know if he had food supply boxes and stuff, but if you're really strict with being vegan, you're going to be nutrient deficient unless you have
Because some of the
food
shops are
supply
so
boxes.
small, aren't they? There's hardly anything in them.
Yeah, they're really scant. Like for example, like I'm basically vegan at home,
Yeah,
and when I go out um, for cultural experiences or hanging with friends, someone offers me meat, cheese, or whatever, I'm happy to eat it. I don't mind. And when I go hiking, I eat all that stuff as well, just because it's way easier. Karim, the guy I hiked with, he is a little bit more strict than me, and so he wherever possible was trying to be vegan, but the vast majority of the time it was not possible.
No.
You either have to reevaluate what your motivations are for being a vegan in terms of like, well, I don't know, can I eat cheese if I'm getting it from or if I'm buying it from a farmer, like he's a local producer, seems to like these, free range sheep, they look happy, healthy, maybe I can buy some cheese. I don't know. It depends on what your motivations are, whether you're going to bend the rules or you're going to try and get resupply boxes. But I will say that resupply boxes, I've never actually heard of anyone doing it in the Pyrenees because it's super hard.
No.
Like in Spain, you have this siesta where first of all, it's summer, so half the time, like the the post office probably like closed or on limited hours, and then you have the siesta, so you get into town, and then like it's going to be slow. It's going to be probably frustrating.
Yeah, just hanging around waiting for food boxes. It's never good.
But yeah, and for sure, people do it.
Yeah,
you might have to have a lot of planning. Probably be able to speak pretty good French or pretty good Spanish, depending on which side you're working on predominantly, and to have your system down. Someone asked about recipes.
Recipes. Yeah. Did you have because you were doing like some pretty fancy stuff, weren't you, man? You were like cooking up lentils and.
Yeah. I invented something that I like to call trash bag nachos. Step one is to take the bag of chips that you've had crushed up and smashed in your bag for the last 4 days with some olive oil, some garlic, some avocado, some Parmesan cheese, and I mixed in the chili powder and the flavor packet from a noodle satchel that I didn't eat last night. We're going to find out if this is any good. Mix all that around, like literally close the bag, shake it, and it's phenomenal. It's really good. And then I did a fancier version of that where I actually cooked the TVP properly and put the proper spices in it. And you could add beans to it or whatever. Like if you're in the States, or if you can get a hold of some freeze-dried, refried beans.
Them things are amazing, man.
Absolutely. So that was my winner.
You are, eh?
What about you, man? What did you eat? So if you enjoyed that, you might like to check out the entire live stream replay. It's over on Impala's channel. I'll leave it here. And if you want to see that plantar fasciitis video, I'll link it right here for you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the summit. And it's exceptionally good. It's actually so fucking amazing, you have no idea.